Hello everyone, I am Xorijiy Muxlisa. Today we'll discuss about grammatical meaning and grammatical categories. Okay, in today's lesson we talk about the notion of grammatical meaning, the types of grammatical meaning, grammatical categories, the notion of opposition, transposition and neutralization of morphological forms. Wow! There are the three fundamental notions of grammar: grammatical form, grammatical meaning, and grammatical category. First of all, before speaking about the grammar, let's discuss about what is the word itself. Word is the main expressive unit of human language, which ensures the thought-forming function of language. Word is also the basic nominative unit of language with the help of which the naming function of language is realized. Word is the main unit of traditional grammatical theory. It is a level unit. In the structure of language, it belongs to upper stage of the morphological level. The word is a unit of the sphere of language and it exists only through its speech actualization. Well, the main two characteristic features of the word, it is indivisibility and bilateral entirety. Well, let's speak about the notion of grammatical meaning. The words, the semantic, the structural meaning can be the grammatical and the lexical. Okay, what is the lexical meaning? The lexical meaning is the individual meaning of the word, but the grammatical meaning is the meaning of the whole class or a subclass. Let's discuss the word table. The lexical meaning of the word table is, it is individual lexical meaning corresponds to a defined piece of furniture. The grammatical meaning, it is the one of sickness at the meaning of the whole class. The noun table has a grammatical meaning of a subclass countableness. Verb. The verb, that means verbality. It is the ability to denote actions or the states. The adjective. Adjective, it is the qualitativeness, the ability to denote qualities. The adverbs. Adverbiality, the ability to denote quality of qualities. Let's discuss some words. The pens. That, as you know, that pens, it is a meaning of plurality, indicator, the morpheme. Has been working. It is a grammatical form, indicates continuity or perfection. The apostrophe s, the grammatical meaning is they are motivated. It shows the relations of objects in extralinguistic world. For instance, Peter's head is a part of a whole. Peter's arrival is subjective genetic relations. Peter's arrest, it is objective genetic relations. There are some types of grammatical meaning. The grammatical meaning can be the explicit and implicit. At the same time, it can be general and dependent. Well, what is the explicit grammatical meaning? The explicit grammatical meaning is always marked morphologically. It has its marker. For instance, cats. The grammatical meaning of plurality is shown in the form of the noun with the s. Cats with apostrophe. The grammatical meaning of possessiveness is shown by the term that as. Is Oscar. That shows the explicit grammatical meaning of passiveness. Well, the next one is implicit meaning. The implicit grammatical meaning is not expressed formally. For example, the word table doesn't contain any hints in its form as to it being inanimate. Well, there are some types of implicit grammatical meaning. General. The general grammatical meaning is the meaning of the whole word class of a part of speech. For example, verbs. A verb is the general meaning of verbiability. Nouns. The noun is the general grammatical meaning of signus. The next one is the dependent grammatical meaning. The dependent grammatical meaning is the meaning of a subclass within the same part of speech. For instance, any verb possesses the dependent grammatical meaning of transitive, the intransitive, the terminativeness, non-terminativeness, like this. Nouns have the dependent grammatical meaning of countables, uncountables, and animateness and inanimateness. Well, dependent grammatical meaning that influences the realization of grammatical categories, restricting them to a subclass. For instance, the dependent grammatical meaning of countableness, uncountableness influences the realization of grammatical category of number. Well, there are some different modes of expressing grammatical meaning. These are inflections. Homonymy of grammatical morpheme that ing, the gerund, and participle one. Sounds alternation, for example, man, mean, have, has. Analytical means, or it can be called like analytical forms as well. For example, Professor Barkhudarov, analytical forms are always marked with the help of continuous morphemes. Have plus that en, be plus ing, be plus an as well. And the last one is the suppletivity. I sometimes can be changed to me, go to van, bad to can, that change to worse. Well, there are criteria to differentiate analytical forms. The general grammatical meaning of an analytical form comprises all the components of the form. Each component taken separately doesn't render an information about the general meaning of the form. There are no syntactic relations between the components of an analytical form. Originally, they developed from three syntactic combinations, mainly from some types of compound predicates. Syntactic relations in the context are possibly only for the whole form. The components cannot have syntactic relations separately. For instance, has never done. That's grammatical categories. The grammatical category is a system of expressing a generalized grammatical meaning by means of paradigmatic correlation of grammatical forms. The term category derives from the Greek word which is otherwise translated as a prediction in the logical or philosophical, the sense of attributing properties to things. Traditional categories are the category of gender, number, person, case, tense, mood, and voice. While there are some features of grammatical categories, the grammatical category is a set of syntactic features that express meanings from the same conceptual domain. It occurs in the contrast to each other, and grammatical categories are typically expressed in the same fashion. Well then, there are the correlation of grammatical categories. Well, that as you know, due to dialectal unity of language and the thought, grammatical categories correlate on the one hand with the conceptual categories and on the other hand with the objective reality. Okay, referential grammatical category. Okay, what does it mean? It is that these kind of categories have references in the objective reality. For instance, the objective category of time finds its representation in the grammatical category of tense. The objective category of quantity finds its representation in the grammatical category of number. Well, the next one is the significational grammatical categories. These type of categories are those that do not correspond to anything in the objective reality. Such categories correlate only with the conceptual matters. It is from the conceptual correlate to lingual correlate. Now we'll discuss about the notion of position. The notion of opposition. What? The relation between the two grammatical forms differing in meaning and external sign is called opposition. For example, book and books, unmarked member or the marked member. As all grammatical the categories find their realization through opposition, we may define the grammatical category as the opposition between two mutually exclusive form classes. A form class is a set of words with the same explicit grammatical meaning. While that means of realization of grammatical categories, these type of grammatical categories can be synthetic and analytic. Synthetic is nearer by that adding that grammatical forms at the end of the word. It can be like sound alteration, like sing, song, and suppletivity, for example, good and better. The analytical, it is that beautiful and the more beautiful. In analytical grammatical categories, mostly that grammatical forms adds before the word. Well, next we'll discuss about transposition and neutralization of morphological form. Now, what is a transposition? Transposition is the use of a linguistic unit in an unusual environment or is a function that is not characteristic of it. For example, he's a lion, he's coming tomorrow. Transposition and neutralization. That neutralization is a reduction of opposition to one of its members. For example, customs, or the customs spectacles. Well, that all today discussed about grammatical forms and grammatical categories. There are some unanswered questions that concerning the role of grammatical category in language processing. What is the role of grammatical category in the lexical, phrasal, or syntactical processing? How is the grammatical category information represented in the brain? Are there distinct neural substrates underlying the representation of nouns or verbs along the semantic, grammatical, or the lexical lines? Are the grammatical category affected due to an interaction of internal structure of words and their processing implication? These questions are unanswered questions, and you should learn about it. That this is all for today. Goodbye.